Hello, good evening. My name is Andre Mitchell, and I am the Director of Family Empowerment and Communications for the New York City Department of Ed. Welcome to this evening's Beyond Access series session. Before we get started, would like to just do some housekeeping. But before we go over some of the housekeeping items, would like to have our interpreters come off of mute just so that they can provide the conference call lines. All right, so I'm going to ask Benito, I'm going to take you off of mute first. Benito, can you give everyone the conference call lines? There you go, Benito, you're off mute.
Okay, Jailin is going to get the information. Can you, Jailin, please? Thank you.
All right. Yaelin, go right ahead.
Hello. The following message will be in Spanish. Offering interpretation services. Buenas noches a todos. Gracias por estar acá. Si desean servicios de interpretación en español, por favor, marque desde su teléfono al 347 966 4114. Perdón. Marque desde su teléfono al 720 527 5818.
Perfect. Thank you for that. All right, and we'll also drop that in the question section. So if anyone comes on after and needs the conference call line information, it'll be there. All right, so I'd like to do some housekeeping again. Thank you for joining us for this evening's weekly Beyond Access webinar session. Tonight's content or topic is going to be a look at the Office of Pupil Transportation, OPT, and the Modernization Plan. You should have access to a couple of things on your dashboard, which are going to be helpful for your interaction with the team this evening for our webinar session. You should see two boxes, one labeled questions, one labeled chat. The question section is where you can direct any questions or concerns throughout the webinar for our central office team to respond directly to you. The chat section is open for you to communicate with all attendees. We do ask for you to refrain from using the chat section of the dashboard and direct all your questions to the question section. Now, we do ask to be mindful that we are limited on time and we have a large amount of participants registered for this evening's webinar session. So if you have very specific cases or concerns, we're going to ask you to refrain from putting that in the question section, but we're going to provide you where you can direct those questions after our session this evening so that a central office team member can respond back to you and address your questions and concerns. So I'll repeat that. We have a large number of participation this evening, and so for that reason, we can answer individual specific cases of concern regarding transportation that requires us just to do some research or checking into. So we ask you to hold those. We're going to provide you an area in which you can direct those questions for central office team members to respond to after. But we do ask for you to, if you have general questions around the content, to drop that into the question section so that our team members can start to respond throughout our evening together. Right? We do ask for you not to use the chat section because that is open for all participants to engage, and we won't be able to follow the conversation there. Yes, this session is being recorded. So if you are, if that is a question and concern of yours, we will be sending out a copy of this recording to everyone within 24 hours after the conclusion of this evening's webinar session. So don't worry, we are recording this content and you will get a thank you email for attending with a copy of this recording directly to the email address that you registered for this evening's session. And if you know anyone who registered but could not attend, they will also get a copy of this as long as they've registered for this webinar session. We do ask that you look for future webinar sessions in our emails, and you should have seen the updated calendar as well. But without any further ado, I'd like to pass the floor over to my colleagues in the Office of Pupil Transportation. Micah, would you like to start us off with introductions?
Sure thing. Hello, everybody. My name is Micah Peterson, and I am the Senior Manager of External Affairs with the Office of Pupil Transportation. And I will let my colleague introduce herself as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anusha Anantaraman, and I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at the Office of Pupil Transportation. It's a pleasure to spend time with all of you this evening.
Thanks, Anusha. So we're going to walk through. Basically, we're going to tell you a little bit about the Office of the DOE's modernization plan, as well as give you some tips and resources for any issues that you may encounter when trying to transfer your child to school.
So we'll start with the mission statement. In accordance with the Chancellor's Regulation 8.1, the New York City Public Schools provides transportation to all eligible New York City students in public, charter, and non-public schools. In partnership with the MTA and our school agents preschool bus companies, our mission is to ensure safe and reliable transportation to and from school.
And just to give you a scope of the student transportation in New York City, so the DOE has the largest ground fleet in North America of buses at 11,000 vehicles. This is twice the size of the MTA. We provide bus service for public, charter, and non-public schools. Students receive busing to schools in New York City's 5 boroughs, as well as schools in New York State, which include Westchester County and Long Island, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Just some stats again about the size of the fleet. We have 10,800 vehicles servicing 128,000 students. We have 2 different types of routes. We have curb to school as well as hop to school, and we'll explain a little bit more about that later. With the curb to school, we have 5,612 routes servicing 56,800 students. With stop to school routes, we have 2,257 servicing 71,800 students. We service nearly 4,500 schools, 2,800 of them being public schools, almost 1,200 non-public schools, and 459 charters. We also distribute Metro cards. Over 800,000 Metro cards are distributed annually. We have 772,000 going to students, and then we have around 37,000 for parents and program exception Metro cards.
I want to speak to you briefly about our modernization plan and something we're really excited about at OPT. And this involves our partnership with VIA, and basically our modernization plan and our whole initiative is two-pronged. One is a partnership with VIA that I'll talk about in detail, and the other area we're focusing on is replacing all our legacy systems to be compatible with our modernization initiatives. We're going to replace everything we have, our old applications, and bring it up to speed and with our whole initiative. So I'll touch upon that briefly as well. But to start with, I want to talk about why we're doing this. The goal of our partnership between our DOE and VIA is to provide real-time route-linked GPS technology in all New York City school buses. As you can see, Micah spoke about how expensive and vast our fleet is, and we want to make sure that all of it is equipped with GPS technology and route link technology. And as a result of this project, will provide families with essential information about, and it'll also give them peace of mind when their children are utilizing our transportation. And it also creates new lines of communication between schools, bus companies, and families. Because currently, if you look at what we're looking to solve here, there is no quick, reliable way for caregivers. By caregivers, we mean parents and other family members who are involved in transportation, drop-off, and pickup. There's no quick way for them to verify the location of a student's or their child's bus. And also schools and caregivers cannot plan around exact times. So there are buses that are also spending unnecessary time waiting for stops and they're stuck in traffic. So we want to look at a way where we can't do much about the traffic. That's only gonna getting worse by the day. But what about like informing parents about the estimated arrival of time of the bus to pick up their child and take them to school, or conversely drop them back from school. Micah, next slide. Okay, so everything I said right now is conceptually the idea behind this effort, and I just want to show you visually, what we're planning here. We're planning around 6 deliverables with BIA, and I'm gonna go through each of them to tell you what we're planning to do here. Like, for example, when it comes to routing, we're going to upgrade our route design and management systems to become more efficient. We're also, when it comes to our fleet, we're updating our vehicle tracking system, our management systems. We're making sure that there is GPS technology on our vehicles. We're also making sure that we have automatic vehicle location. So that is going to provide location data about our buses from and to school and from school. There's also a plan to do ridership tracking, so verify when the child or when the student boards and exits a school bus. And the whole idea is all this is to culminate in real-time communications with the parent or caregiver app, where a parent will actually or caregiver will actually log in to the app and they'll be able to see the visualizer. They'll be able to see a map where their child builds the bus is visible on the map, and it'll also give them information on what time approximately the child is going to be picked up or dropped off. And that is like the eventual plan of this whole modernization effort. Having said that, I also have to say that we're building this iteratively and incrementally. So we're taking baby steps. We're first working on what you see on the left side of the screen is a school admin console, which means that this is a central console. I'll show you pictures as we go further into this presentation, where you'll see the visual of where the bus is at. And we're at this point, we're only built that much. Then as we progress, we'll build turn by turn direction into it, where a driver will actually log in to a mobile app, punch their route in, and start stopping at every stop, and the parent will get information. At this point, where we are is we're only able to see the vehicle. We're not able to get that kind of information because we're still in the midst of building this out. Next slide. So like I mentioned, product modules will be rolled out gradually, focusing on drivers and operators and school users before rolling it out to the ultimate consumer that we are trying to, hope to improve the experience of the family and the student. But before we get there, we still have to work in a modular fashion and work on different pieces of this app. The first thing we're working on is building the driver app and GPS tracking. So if you can, visualize this with me, we're going to every yard, school bus yard, and equipping every bus with a harness. That harness is going to be the cradle that holds the mobile phone. And this mobile phone has a driver app. So the driver goes and logs in and starts the bus. And then eventually the plan is that the driver will be provided turn-by-turn instructions on where to stop and then which student is going to board the bus at every stop. And then we'll train schools to actually look into this hub and see for themselves when this bus is arriving, so they can kind of expedite the offloading so students make it on time, in time, within their session time into the classroom. And similarly, they'll also know what's a good time for when the bus arrives to the school to pick up their students. They'll be able to organize that better as well. And eventually, all this will give parents information as well, like I explained to you. And the last part is we're going to work on is the ridership tracking to actually know which student is on the bus. They'll be using a QR code technology to get hop on the bus to register their attendance on the bus, and we'll use the same technology when they leave the bus. So we'll know, every parent will know when their child boarded and exited the bus.
Can we pause for a second? We just have some folks in the chat just asking for the interpretation lines to be reread out again. Can we start with the Mandarin line just to be reread, and then I'll have our Spanish interpreter read out the line for folks who are looking to join.
Of course, this is the Mandarin interpreter. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
OK， 大家晚上好。需要说中文的家长，请拨打电话号码763-296-7275，然后输入会议 ID 109751。再说一次，今天需要说中文的家长，请拨打电话763-296-7275，然后输入会议 ID 109751。当你接通电话之后，请记得要关闭和静音你在电脑上的声音和话筒，然后一定要记得关闭在手机上的话筒，这样可以把背景噪音降到最小。Thank you, and you may proceed.
All right, thank you so much. Can our Spanish interpreter also reread the conference call line for the Spanish line, please? Aileen, I'm gonna take you off of mute so you can read the line out again. All right, and we're also dropping it in the chat line for folks, okay? Aileen, if you can come off of mute, or Bendino, can you read the line out for them, folks? Thank you.
Si desea interpretación en español, por favor marque desde su teléfono al 720-527-5818 e ingrese el número de conferencia 160-5474. Le repito, marque al número 720-527-5818 e ingrese el número de conferencia 160-5474. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for that pause. The floor is yours.
Moving on, so I'm gonna speak a bit about what the school operations console looks like. This is the central hub. Several people will have access to this console. By that I mean that the main team, the core team within OPT will have access to this console. Our school bus vendors will have access to this console. Our schools will have access to this console. All this to ensure that parents are getting effective information near real time. There's going to be a slight lag. That's why I call it near real time. And the goal of this project at the end of the day is that every child has a right to effective and efficient transportation. And this initiative will help us improve our bus operations for the largest school district. And the project will make it easy for families to verify their child's location when they're riding the school bus, and will provide near real time pick up and drop off times. So we'll be able to see that. This, what you see in the center of the screen is a visualizer that actually shows where the bus is at. And for security reasons, we're not gonna show it exactly what intersection the bus is at, but we're gonna show it. We're gonna maintain a certain radius. We'll know which block the bus is at, but you won't know the exact location. Moving on, I'm sure all of you are curious to see what the parent app or the caregiver app is going to look like. I just have some screenshots here. You see the first screen there to the left. That's what it's going to look like. It's not. This is just a design. I mean, it may change over time as we're building this iteratively. And the whole idea of building this iteratively is to get parents to participate and get feedback from them. You see the second screen on the right is the login screen, and parents and caregivers will have to log in using their NYCSA information, and what is NYCSA and how to get a NYCSA account if you don't have one already, something Micah is going to cover later in this presentation. If you see the bottom left screen, that kind of gives you an indication. Supposing you have more than one child in the New York school system that is who's receiving transportation, you'll have information for each of them separately on their bus arrival and departure times. That's the bottom left screen. And bottom right screen gives you the visualizer of where the bus is at. Thanks, Micah. So, like I spoke about ridership tracking earlier, the objective of this is to record boarding and alighting of students to provide information near real time to parents. And ridership tracking will happen through bus passes, right? So these are QR code passes. And the good thing about these are they're paper-based passes, like you see the pass on the right side, the picture on the right side, outside of the student's bag. So we're thinking of providing students with the ability to print these passes in case they lose them both at school and at home, because we know that they're likely to lose it ever so often. So there are several benefits for schools and users of the school operations console, in terms like we'll now have real-time bus tracking, we'll have information on arrival time, we'll have information on delays, we'll have information on days like snow days. We'll know in advance that there's going to be no transportation. Student attendance, we'll know who's on board. If there is any attendance challenges, we'll be able to address that. And in terms of we'll also have data on bus arrival and student arrival times, and we can also have historical information that'll help us, see what the trends are or go back in time to solve for certain issues. So, sorry.
I'll go back.
Yeah, thank you. And sorry about that. I just want to give everyone also an idea of where we are with the project right now. So we've done many pilots, and by pilot I mean trying out this beta or a control experiment across certain vendors and certain routes over a period of time. And currently where we are with that is that we did a pilot with District 26. All schools in District 26 had access to the school operating console. We also got involved with a set of families to experiment with this. We got them to download the app and actually monitor the bus and give us feedback. And we will continue to work with schools and families to gather further feedback and make improvements on the app. And if you want more information on this, you can always look at the OPT modernization plan that's available on DOE's Info Hub. Thank you, Micah.
No problem. So next, we're just going to walk through just some additional information about transportation and to help with troubleshooting and just some other little resources that we have available for you. First up, we want to talk about eligibility for busing. So we have two types of busing at the DOE. We have stop to school as well as curb to school. And just to let you know about stop to school and MetroCard eligibility. Eligibility is based on the grade of the student as well as distance between the home and the school. In order to be provisioned stop to school busing is based on quite a few different criteria, including remaining within the school district lines and not exceeding 5 miles. For students that cannot be assigned to a stop to school route based on those criteria. So, for example, they go to school in Brooklyn but live in Manhattan, they will receive a MetroCard. Stop to school buses pick up and drop off students at a designated bus stop. There is one driver and there are no attendants. For curb to school, these are for students who receive early intervention or have a high school or have an IEP that recommends special integrated class, a preschool IEP that recommends special integrated class. For students with IEPs, if they are recommended transportation on their IEP for curb to school, it'll be based on the student's disability is manifesting with respect to ability to travel. So in those cases, students will be recommended for curb to school. Also, in addition, students with a 504 plan that recommend curb to school transportation based on how a student's disability is manifested with respect with the ability to travel, including the need for medical intervention such as an EpiPen or glucose monitoring. Students who have received the appropriate exception and it was determined that a curb to school, if they get the approved exception, then they will receive a curb to school route. And so the difference with curb to school versus stop to school is that curb to school routes pick up and drop off at the nearest safest curb to the home. There's also not only a driver on the bus, but there's also an attendant. Next, I just want to talk about exceptions. So we do have, although we have those criteria for stop to school and curb to school routes. We do also have exceptions for various cases. So we understand that some of our families and students experience difficult circumstances, in which case they can submit an exception to our normal transportation rules and be granted busing. And in these cases, these cases usually include due to hazards, just as road hazards, things like that, an order of protection, if they're a victim of a crime, if there's joint custody, if the student is in temporary housing, as well as domestic violence shelters or children who are residing with other families due to financial or economic hardship. We also call that double up, as well as any children transitioning to permanent housing. These cases are eligible for exceptions, and those can be filled out on the support hub using the transportation exception form, and we will show you where to find that at the end of this presentation. Also to note, we do take all exceptions on a case-by-case basis. So if you feel that if you feel like that your child should receive busing as do this exception process, please submit a form on the support hub for the transportation exception form. But please note that no exception will be granted because the family disagrees with the grade and distance eligibility. We have, as we mentioned earlier, in the VIA portion, there is NYCSA integration. In NYCSA, which is NYC Schools account, is the parent portal for seeing everything from grades to attendance to IEP information, as well as transportation. So again, this is a very useful resource to see your students pickup, route number, the vendor name, the bus company, the vendor's phone number in case you need to call them, as well as your school's transportation coordinator contact information. So again, this is a very great tool to use, again, not just for transportation, but for all things related to monitoring your child's academic success. So, again, if you have an NYCSA account, you could easily go in and see transportation. If you don't have an account yet, you can register for an account in two ways, either in person by visiting your child's school or teleconferencing and to create an account. If you speak to your parent coordinator, for example, you can receive a temporary password during the registration process and have an account created. Likewise, you can get a NYCSA account creation code letter either backpacked with your student, or you can ask your school to create one for you as well. That way, each account creation code letter has a unique code, which is unique to the student and the parent to tie the two together. And again, those are the two ways you can create an account. Also, just want to speak to expansion for NYCSA access. So currently, right now, for public schools, a parent can contact a parent coordinator at their school or their family support coordinator at their local superintendent office during school recess in order to have an account created. Those are the main ways to get the temporary password or an account creation code letter. We are currently working with our private school partners to ensure that all families can create NYCSA accounts. So expect more news from that in the near future. I'm saying this because in order to access VIA, it does require a NYCSA account, and so we will be working to make sure that all of our students in the city are able to create an account in order to access VIA. So the next few slides are just a few of our resources, so that that you always have those at your fingertips. The first is actually the DOE website, the New York City Public Schools website, which if you go to if you go to School Life, and click on transportation, you'll see a lot of various information. Includes an overview, which is looking up bus routes and how the system works, and how you can contact OPT call center to resolve issues. We also have a page on transportation eligibility, which again, it gives a little bit more detail than what I mentioned earlier about distance and grade level from the school in order to determine eligibility. It explains the systems and also includes information on exceptions, as I mentioned, and how to apply for an exception via the support hub. We also have a page on Metro cards and getting a little more information about that and how to use the Metro cards, as well as pre-K and early intervention bus company information on that page as well.
So I just want to go over the support hub and how we can, support parents and family members at this point in time. So if you go to supporthub.schools.nyc and you select your issue where the main topic is transportation and the category is OPT, you see these tiles in the lower half of the screen. So if you have any of these requests, I need to request an exception to transportation eligibility. My child's school is late and I'd like to know where it is. My school bus is repeatedly late and does not show up. Or you want to file a complaint against a school bus staff member. I want to submit a complaint against a school bus company, or I'm having problems with my child's current school bus. So you can go to any of these issues and click on it and give your information, and you will get an email with a resolution. Apart from that, we also have the customer service line. You feel free to contact our customer service line at 718-392-8855, and you can use this customer service line to file incident reports. And just to be clear, this earlier screen where I showed you the tiles that you cannot file incident reports there. So if you want to file an incident report, you need to call our customer service line. You can also receive additional information listed on our website, and you can call the customer service line to know that place an incident complaint about anything else that is outside of what the tiles offer or the information on the support hub offers. But it's important to note that no specific student info, including route information, would be provided to families over the phone, and this is to protect personally identifiable information. We want to make sure that we're not giving it out because we're not able to see who's at the other end of the phone line. So I think that concludes our presentation, where we've shared all our modernization efforts and a background of the Office of Pupil Transportation and all our work. And we are completely committed to improve customer service. And if you want more information, you can look up additional resources such as Transportation Overview, the Support Hub, and we're also leaving you with our customer service line number 718-392-8855. Thank you.
Thank you all. So we had a few questions that came in before the presentation that we want to go through. I know that so we did receive a few questions related to questions such as the bus is late, or what do you do if your child's limited time travel is not being honored per their IEP. Because this is a public forum, to not violate FERPA, we are not able to talk about individual one-on-one cases for this webinar. What we recommend is that you please call a customer service line as posted here, and then it can be routed to the right teammates. Likewise, please also reach out to your school, and so they can also log the information as well. That way we can take care of it, we can investigate and make sure that your child is able to get on their bus and follow their right ride time. One question that we did receive was, what is the maximum travel time a student should take each time they get on the bus? So if they are traveling within their borough, it is 90 minutes max. If it's out of borough, it is 1 hour 45 minutes. And if it's out of the 5 boroughs, so if it's going to Westchester, New Jersey, Long Island, etc., it is 2 hours. Again, if I think another question that was asked is, if your child will get busing, if a child can get busing through high school, again, this is based on if it's on their IEP, then if it's required for their IEP, they'll receive busing. For other cases, again, it's all based on our grades and our distance and grade level eligibility for that one. Another question that came up was, will the DOE extend student transportation to the MTA Express buses for students? Just to speak on that, there is an MOU currently between the MTA and the DOE. So at this time, we have to follow the memorandum of understanding. But once it is up for review, that could be something that could be discussed at that point in time. I think, and one more question is what that we received is, what does if a bus service company is unable to replace a driver, what should you do? Again, in those instances, make sure to call the customer service line. Again, there's also we do provide reimbursements for service outages. Please look at the transportation overview website at this link here. To find out more information for how to get reimbursed for instances where you are where you had to there was a route outage for you. So that was all the questions that we received before the webinar. Let's see if there's any more.
Yeah, I have some that came through the chat that I think are general. I can feature. Okay.
That'd be great.
Yep. So one is there a workaround for parents who don't have computers or like an iOS phone for the tracking systems?
Yes, I can answer that. So yes, the mobile app will have both an iOS version as well as an Android version, and we're also working on a web version. So for parents who don't have access to mobile phones, they'll be able to see it on their desktop. It's all in the works. But for sure, we will have Android and iOS version. The pilot we had in D26, the parents who participated went to the App Store and downloaded either version, depending on the kind of phone they have.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. There was a question of why the QR codes won't stay on the buses.
The QR codes are not meant to stay on the buses. So the QR code is a badge, like an ID card that the students will have on them, will be carrying with them. There'll be technology in the driver's app, to be able to record the QR code, and that will actually record the attendance of the student on the bus. So the QR code doesn't stay on the bus; it stays with the child as the identity for that child.
Got you. What made the determination, or how is the decision made of the age and grade a student can no longer ride a neighborhood bus?
I can take that. So that is based on a DOE policy. So those, and again, those are those determinations are made. set in stone based on that policy for transportation. I don't exactly recall when that was passed, but I know it's been that determination for a while now.
Got you. We have some folks wanting to confirm when is the app going to be rolled out, and can you repeat the app information?
What was the last part of the question?
And if we can reiterate to them what the name of the app and how they can download it. That's a few questions we're asking to repeat that.
Sure. So it is New York City School app, and like I mentioned earlier, we're rolling this app out iteratively. It's not available to all parents at this point. So we will when it's going to impact your child's route, the school or OPT or the vendor will reach out to you and give you information on how to participate in the rollout and provide feedback. In the meanwhile, it would be great if you could ensure that you have a NYCSA account, because that is a preliminary requisite to be able to access this app.
Got you. We have a question regarding, will the app allow you to see the bus's ETA arrival to help working parents who need to factor in their commute to work?
Yes, that's the whole idea. And you'll see it evolving. Right now, you'll just see the bus on the map, but as we develop this product further, eventually you'll be able to get near real time, because the app needs to refresh every few minutes. So you get your near real time information on when the bus is arriving at the stop, or when the bus is leaving school and dropping your child back.
Okay. How are kids added to each bus route or to a route?
So a lot of factors go into creating routes. So it's based on the location of the school, the distance that the student is from the school, whether or not the school is in district, within borough, etc. Whether or not this is for students who have IEPs, whether or not there is limited time travel. All of these factors are taken into account, and also other things on the student's IEP if necessary, such as fewer students on the bus, etc. All these factors are taken into account to create routes for students.
Got you. A couple of parents wanted to know, was the feedback that was received during the pilot, was that implemented or considered in the next versions?
Yes. For example, something like the reason we created the web format is because we realized that not every parent has access to a phone. That was one of the feedback. And then we also got some design feedback, which would improve the experience of caregivers. We've taken that into account as well.
Okay, perfect. We have time to take about 5 more questions over the mic, but again, please direct any specific questions that are relevant to your child through the information currently on the screen, so that we can just verify your information and then check into the individual case. So we do ask you to defer all individual cases to the information on the screen. We do have time to take about 5 more questions, so please drop them in. And we are monitoring the chat, and we'll share the communications not being able to answer that were general with our colleagues in OPT after the session. And this is a friendly reminder, yes, this session is being recorded, and your email that you registered with will receive a copy of this recording within 24 hours after the conclusion of this evening's webinar session. Okay, so let me just pull about 4 more that we can over the mic that are general. I know we talked about students who are in parochial schools, independent schools. Is this going to be also available for students in charter schools, was a question.
Yes, this app is going to be available to all schools. but we are going to focus on the public schools first, as we need to develop some integration with non-public schools, as they have a fair amount of autonomy right now, and they have their own apps, and they run their own operations. So it's going to take a while, but we have an app, the software in place, and we've spoken to non-public schools as well as charter schools, and then we will eventually integrate everyone into the fold of this app.
Okay, perfect. Is there door-to-door drop-off and pickup? I know we talked about that earlier, so some folks might have missed that portion of our presentation.
You mean in terms of per via, or I mean, because
Yes.
so yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Actually, well, door to door. So door to door is also called curb to school. So I think there might have been some confusion when we were saying those terms, but they are interchangeable. But yes, the routes. Yeah, we'll still have the same stop to school and curb to school bus routes once this app rolls out.
Okay, take two more. Can parents use the Apple tablet given to each child at their school to download this software?
So we do envision a version of the student app, but I'm not able to speak to the methodology right at this point, because we're still in discussions about what student can download this app, what the age of student should be, and if we're going to allow them to download it from their iPads, or is it going to be limited to cell phones. So I think we should keep track of the website I mentioned, and we'll keep giving you updates on how this progresses, because we want to make sure there's security of information at all times, but our design will be responsive. If we decide that it's going to be downloadable on an iPad or a mobile phone, we'll make sure our design adapts itself to all kinds of downloads, but we have to decide on the policy first. So stay tuned and keep track of our web letters or our updated transportation page for more information.
Okay, perfect. And we'll take one more question. It was said at the CCSE Chancellor Town Hall, we currently have rideshare for enrichment. How do families access this?
For rideshare, so rideshare is only available if there is a service outage, and there is no, you had a route and there's no more bus, there's no more bus driver, etc. While we're waiting for trying to get the route back up, families can contact their school, and once they're contacted, they will be given the school will help them with getting set up for rideshare.
All right, perfect. All right. We thank you for all our colleagues in the Office of Pupil Transportation for providing this fabulous information and important, which we hope was insightful for everyone that attended. We do want to give a friendly reminder that this is the month for National Disability. So we are actually at the 28th year of the United States has recognized and celebrated March as the National Disability Awareness Month. So we want folks to be mindful of that, and please pass that information along. We do encourage you to register for any one of our upcoming Beyond Access Series webinars. You can always look for sessions either in your inbox, because we email you directly, or on our schools.nyc.gov info hub. You can see under families, you can see registration links, descriptions for upcoming sessions. And please, if you have any additional questions, concerns directed for our specific division, you can always send them to specialeducation@schools.nyc.gov. I'll repeat that. That's specialeducation@schools.nyc.gov. Please direct any of the specific questions for OPT to the information that they provided on the screen, but we will provide the questions that we weren't able to get to in the chat with them, but if you have specific individual questions about a specific case or your child, please send them that so we can verify your identity and then also look into the case for you. It is always our honor and pleasure to have you with us every Tuesday for our Beyond Access series sessions. We look forward to seeing you on in the future. And again, this session was recorded. You will have access to it within 24 hours after the conclusion of our session this evening. And you can also always visit our YouTube channel, in which you can see additional recordings from past sessions that you might have missed. And on that, you can use the translation options for Spanish, Mandarin, or any language that you would like to utilize, as well as closed captioning. All right, again, we thank you so much for joining us this evening. Have a great night.
Thank you so much, Andre.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.